What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Modine, and I'm back again with another video. Charlie, you see this ShattaFest? The show was on the 18th. Shatawali's birthday was 17th. Um, Today is 21st, and funny enough, I've just been, goodness, I've been taking everything in, and I just couldn't get myself to film a video because of how everything was just coming at me. Though there are so many things to say, but here is my review. For my review, I'm gonna do it in three ways. I'm gonna talk about the economic aspect. I'm gonna talk about Shatawali's influence, and I'm going to talk about the technicalities with the event management and everything else, right? These are the three areas I want to touch on. There are other issues that have come up, and I have seen some other conversations going the rounds as well. I will address them in a later video. But for now, ShattaFest 2025. This is like a top up to Shattabration, right? ShattaFest, this is not the first one. The first one was called Shattabration, ShattaFest as well, but not like a fest. It's more like a Shattabration where Shatawali celebrated his birthday, if you guys remember, in his house, the Ship Mansion. And that was the first time he met with Jacqueline, right, in his house. Jacqueline, the TikTok star, right? And that was just between him and a few, close people, and but this is the first time Shatawali decided to celebrate with his fans, and oh boy, it looks like people have been waiting for this day for a long time. And so I'm going to start off with the technical aspects, then I'll come to Shatawali's influence, and then we go to the economics of everything. I want to say big ups to the team. For me, it's not really a surprise for Shatawale to just put up notice for 2 weeks and then put up the show without any serious promotion, right? And it is one of the things that a lot of people do not know about the Shatta movement. A lot of people think it's just one of those fan bases that just exists for no reason. But for what's worth, I think this very show will make a lot of people understand the intricacies that involves Shatta movement. That is within the Shatta movement empire. It is beyond what you think. It is beyond what you would assume. And a lot of the times we belittle Shatawali's prowess and the things that he does in this industry. He makes them seem effortless, and because of that, people usually don't see the strategic play behind everything that he does. So for the technicalities, I would like to big up Sammy Banflex, Juwade, Julio, also Solash Entertainment, Mawina, the road manager, all the security, Shatta Wale, Magical. If you do anyhow, you go see anyhow. The name is not coming right now, but you know who you are. And Roland Amate, Long John, and the technical team from Chatter House. You guys did an amazing job. Now, a lot of things from me where I was sitting just at home watching the whole show, I was thinking to myself, some big screens would have done some magic. Imagine a big screen to the left, a big screen to the right. I mean, the stands, right? And then two bigger screens on each side of the stage itself, so that the fans who are standing behind with live camera footage would actually see. I think a typical example would be Shatawali's entrance, where he stood for a good amount of time in silence, just observing the crowd. I think the cheer we got could have even been 10 times louder if people far from the stage would see what he was doing, you know, via the screens I'm talking about. Um, but nonetheless, I think on paper, Sammy Banflex was saying that they were hoping that they would get anywhere between 100 to 150,000. That was what they scripted on paper. Granted, this is not the first Shatawali Independence Day show. After the storm was launched, the album was launched at the Independence Square, and it was filled, right? But at that time, it was 50,000. But today, um, what Shatawali has done right now is to bring together the biggest rally of people in the entire of Africa. I stand to be corrected, but we had over 500,000 people show up. Now, there's been some statistics going on for the how do you call it? The square meters, so the space, for the Independence Square, and it is said to be about 98,000 square meters, right? And for every square meter, you can fit in 4 people. So you can do the math. Now, people were standing, people were even packed than they should be. So for every square meter, I think you would have about 6 people because of how it was jam packed, 6, 7 people per square meter, and it was very, very packed, very, very, very packed. And then you talk of the streets heading towards the Osu, heading towards the Nkrumah Mausoleum, heading towards the Stadium Road and all. I mean, it was a huge thing, and they didn't anticipate it. Hence, the reason why maybe they didn't think of the big screens and all that stuff, because, man, people attended. And because of this, there was also more like a lapse in security because they didn't anticipate it. On such a day, usually people would wish that it rains so that the whole show will be, disorganized and so. But this was the day when I know the organizers, the fans, everyone over there was praying that it rains because of the immense heat. And it calls into question another thing. I love what Shatawali is to our industry. Shatawali is the guy who leads the way for us to see the mistakes and for us to see a future where one would think entertainment in a totally different way. It's like the biggest crowds we are usually privy to in Ghana are either at rallies via the political parties, and then the church crusades or the 31st nights. This is the only time where we usually see a gathering of people in huge numbers, And so for a long time, we as a country haven't even thought of the fact that one person could become so big to transcend the collective grouping of a political party, and Shatawale has been able to prove that. And it is interesting because we get to learn, but the question is, are we going to learn from it? Are we going to make the necessary corrections and implement some things that would help? Currently, we still have Independence Square. There's a lot that can be done to enhance the security around Independence Square, for example. There's a lot. Just from this alone, maybe more fire hydrants should be built, for example, and there should be like not a fire station, but a pumping station where even without the fire trucks, they could just pump water directly because we have the sea, right? and one could just draw water from there, but also just filter it so that the salt content will go down in a way, and it can be mounted at all the stands that you see across the Independence Square, right? That way, when you have such a crowd and there is so much heat, one can just go up there and have direct access and spray, so that now it will be sprinkled more like rain, from that angle, and it can be used to control the temperature, because we have to start working with what we have, and then at the same time think of another thing. One other place that maybe can also be thought about when it comes to huge crowds will be the trade fair. The trade fair is huge. That place can also take or cater for at least 150,000 to 200,000 people for a show. So we've seen a lot of technical lapses, and I think these are some of the things that we could look at. Sound wise, like I said, once again, they didn't really anticipate the numbers, right? And so they could have positioned some sound somewhere, but these guys did a great job. The stage could have been bigger. But yet again, no one saw over 500,000 people coming. Shatta is huge. They knew for sure a lot of people would come. But times 3 or 4 of what they had written on paper, no one saw that coming. Not even me. I believe in Shatawali so much and the things he can do. And I think there are things that he hasn't even done in Ghana yet. But this show surprised me. And that's why I take my hats off to the technical team. They did it in a record short time, because this show was just put together 2 weeks. With just 2 weeks notice. I'm sure behind the scenes they were talking about some stuff and how to go about this whole thing. But effective planning and everything that went on in the 2 weeks, and this mammoth show was put up. So kudos to the team. I really applaud you guys for the things that you've done in the industry and things you continue to do in the industry. I'm just trying to check the light so that the sound doesn't go off. One is already off, right? And so this is beautiful, and I love every bit of it. There is a lot more that can be done, but for what we know, one of the things I will also touch on was the barricades, right? Then again, the numbers. They planned for a certain number, and then, of course, it went overboard. But now these are the things we can learn from, right? Going forward, what are some of the things we can do? I think the Kumasi Sports Stadium or the Baba Yara Sports Stadium is a bigger venue than Accra Sports Stadium. So now comes in the pitch cover, right? Now, you can host this same amount of people at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium or even the Ohinijan Sports Stadium, aka the Accra Sports Stadium. And I'm thinking that perhaps with the same huge screens, we should invest in those things and try to mount huge screens around the stadium, and you can have a concert where it is paid from the inside. People just go in there, and those who cannot pay will always find their way outside and still enjoy the show. You understand? Vehicular traffic was not even a thing that people would even touch on this day, but there was more of the foot traffic. Everywhere was blocked. You understand? And so I think when it comes to the parade day, Independence Square, there's a security around it. It's always to the T. There is a good planning when it comes to which cars are coming with all the stickers and labeling and all that kind of stuff, and which side the dignitaries will be driving towards and all that kind of stuff. It's well planned because the number is contained. Now, Shatawale has taken us to a different dimension, and it will just be prudent of us as a country to look forward to the future where we can see such shows happening. Because guess what? Shatawale's career is not done yet. And I see him continue like this for the next 10 years again, if he wants to. Because it looks like He is actually fueling the next generation, the Gen Zs. And that is also through another strategy we will talk about later. But he's getting them well vexed to the extent that in 10 years, the kids who are 7 years today, being 17, 18, and so on, will take over from those that are actually all over the place, And Shatta is doing this in a deliberate way. He's very intentional when it comes to marketing and promotion and all that kind of stuff. So for the technical aspects, the guys did well. And a lot could be improved, right? But I think on the day, they did what they could. For 2 weeks, that is perfect. Maybe next time, a lot more planning would go into it. The whole stage will be crafted in a 3D format. They go through everything maybe for like 3 months and try to simulate some things and see how it goes. But technicalities, it was good. Now, I'll move on to the influence of Shatta Wale. Charles Ni Amamensa has been able to build a genuine following where people love him genuinely, anyone who knows me knows that I don't hide my love for Shatta Wale. I don't. Those who know me privately know I don't hide it. A lot of people do not understand why I would be so passionate about a guy like Shatta Wale, right? But I always say that before you criticize a man like that, listen to his music. Not what the media selects for you to listen to. Listen to the music. And it takes great intellect for you to understand the man beyond what you see on your screens. And so sometimes I don't blame people who just go with the vibe because everyone is saying A. And so they go with A instead of taking their time to actually use their God-given brains to analyze and try to form an opinion for themselves. You understand? But that Shatta Wale influence is something that will take a great deal of time to understand. Over 500,000 people came there for one name, Shatta Wale. In a concert, not a concert, in a fest, a ShattaFest, a festival where they were just coming to celebrate his birthday with him. He put up a post 2 weeks to the event date on Facebook and did one TV interview. That was it. That was it. He didn't go radio station to radio station talking about his show and all that stuff. Nothing. The rest of the time was actually used for the planning because they only had 2 weeks. Yet he pulled over 500,000 people. Actually, it's somewhere between 500,000 to 1 million people. But when you talk about the independence floor space, there we can talk somewhere between 350 to about 400,000 people that were within the premises of the Independence Square. But then when you want to add those who were on the roads stretching way down towards the Osu area, to the Independence Mausoleum and all that kind of stuff, I had to go and repeat this side again because my video just cut off. So yeah, when you go across board and you want to stretch all the other sides that were filled, we can talk close to about 1 million people. And these are people who came for just Shatta Wale. So for the technical aspect, there were a lot of things our folks didn't see coming, but it did justice to it. Let me talk influence. Shatta Wale has built an enviable brand in Ghana. And he did that by simply bringing hope to the hopeless. Not just bringing hope to them, but hope mixed with love. Hope that transcends, I want you to look at me and do what I'm doing. It transcends that. What he does goes way beyond that. He makes you feel active and you feel like moving to take steps so that one day he will be proud of you. The connection Shatta Wale has built with his following goes beyond what you see on social media. It is a family, it is a blood covenant without blood. You know, there are a lot of people out there who, when Shatawali sneezes today, they will actually fall ill, whether you like it or not. Shatta movement is more than a religion. Shatta movement is spiritual. To be a Shatta movement member, it's a calling. You can't just get up one day and say you are Shatta movement. You will just be washed away. You know, it takes great intellect for you to understand the man beyond your screens, because that guy has depth. And in order for you to understand him, you need to go below the noise. Just go down there and observe things from your side. Analyze it right from here, not what everyone else is saying. Because if you want to follow what everyone else is saying, guess what? The media will always control you because they have succeeded. But thank goodness that now everyone sees this show and says that, wow, not even the political parties can pull this. But Shatawali has done what a lot of people cannot do. The first time we are seeing this in the entire country, and could be the topmost performance of a gathering with over 500,000 people. This could be the number one in Africa. This guy's influence, I think he hasn't even tapped 20% of his actual influence, because trust me, I see conversations floating around with O2 again. I hate that conversation. I just hate that conversation. But you know something? Shatawali, when people talk about O2, the type of audience Shatawali appeals to are not living in the United Kingdom. This topic, I'll talk about it another time. Let me not deviate. I'll come back to this topic again in a separate video. But Shatawali is so powerful to the extent that, you know, he can organize a concert, never show up. Fans will go there with just a DJ and they will party the whole time. In fact, Shatawali can organize a stadium show and ask fans to get on stage one after the other and perform songs that they love. And it will still be a massive concert. He just has to provide the platform, date, time, and venue. That's all. How many artists can do that? How many artists can do that? In fact, he can just sit and watch them perform without even touching the mic. He just usher them in, give them the mic, let them perform and do party. That is the type of influence the guy has. So it's about time we take him seriously. I know now a lot of people, those who are trying to mock him, quote unquote, shit on his name and all that, gonna have seen the light. I see we can't compare him to anyone. Shatta keeps saying that he is an industry on his own. He is his own industry and he doesn't need the Ghanaians. Of course, he is in Ghana. He is within this jurisdiction. So he needs to build the industry and we need to build it collectively together. This statement makes people know that, wow, Shatta and Ghana mean business when it comes to entertainment. This makes us understand why event organizations like Afro Nation were coming into the country. You know, Afro Future or Afro Chella, the old name, right? Now people understand that there is some economic value in this country. We just have to add things to it and make it more relevant, make it more economically viable. You know, we can do it, but we need some good legislations and we need some intentional support from the government, from the creative arts, to take some of these things seriously. ShattaFest can now be taken, I'm going into the economics of it now, right? ShattaFest can now be taken and made like one of those Glastonbury, for example, Wireless, all these big festivals that a lot of people do attend in other countries, we can make ShattaFest one of such events where Shatawali doesn't even have to perform on the night, but we can bring in artists and people can travel because this is just a party. You know, when you talk about the Dirty December where people come into Ghana and all, there isn't one event that is actually for the nation. So now we have a new team in place from the government doing the Black Star Line experience. I don't know what their plans are, but at least this shows you the leaders that you saw this very event pulling over 500,000 people in one space for 1 month. What was his message? Guys, it's my birthday. I want to thank you for coming to Yoko to support me. And I think it's long overdue. And I want to do something for all of you. I want to organize a free show. Come, let's celebrate my birthday. I want to celebrate with you. That was just it. And he told them, wear white. Done. That wear white, the dress code, will make you understand that everybody who came there purposely for Shatta Wale. No radio advertisement and all those stuff, just social media 2 weeks before. So economically, Ghana can position itself with such a festival, package it well, put better security forces in place to ensure safety, and we can sell this all year round as one of the biggest festivals that people would actually want to come to Ghana for. Pram Pram, when you go towards Pram Pram, there are vast lands there that we can take. You see the Mr. Easy tamed, Untamed, is it Untamed Empire? Just something like that, you know, but we look for a bigger space, you know, something big of about maybe 10 acres, and carefully develop the parameters and have it well prepared for something like this. And I'm sure we are going to enjoy ourselves as a country. And by this, we will gradually turn around the country. I remember the early years when I started traveling. Whenever you go somewhere and you talk about Nigeria, the first thing people always tell you is fraud, 419. Today, it's a different narrative. People talk to you about Afrobeats and music. They mention their stars. Nigeria has taken time to turn their story around through entertainment. Entertainment single-handedly can do a lot for the country, but it takes serious minds to also identify the potential. And in this government, we have someone like Baba Sadiq who understands the trajectory entertainment can take this nation to. And so if they need someone to offer them legal advice or expert advice on the economic potential of the entertainment industry, they have someone inside there. Our current Minister of Tourism is a creative arts person. Honorable Jifa Gomashi, seasoned actress, someone who has been on TV. I watched her during By the Fireside days, stepping in for the Mami Doknus and the man. There's one man, I've forgotten the name, who usually does that. You know, these are people who pioneered Fun World and some other stuff. She understands these things. But you know, our frame of thought when it comes to entertainment is always in smaller spaces. You know, it was the National Theatre, and then gradually we outgrew National Theatre, and then it was at maybe the stadium, and then the Untamed Empire, and then there was the Fantasy Dome. These were showing us where Ghana was going to, and now over 500,000. So if we are not intentional to create spaces that can actually be used, then of course, what are we doing as a nation? What are we doing as a nation? You know, I like what Shatawali does. Shatawali opens the way. He uses his influence to open the way for us to learn. We see the possibilities in just the effort he makes. He makes the effort to try something new, something no one tries. And through that, he makes mistakes. We see those, but at the same time, we see the potential. We see the possibilities that exist that can be capitalized on and the right thing be done because he is the guinea pig of our industry and he is the biggest. I will personally rate the whole event a 10 out of 10. There are technical glitches, there are things that happen, but we have never seen something of this magnitude. And so no one could actually prepare for it. If this was, let's say, in a country where they are used to having over 500,000 people in one place for a gathering, of course, they would anticipate and plan properly. We haven't seen something like that. So no one could see it. The best they could have done was to anticipate and plan for over 100,000 to 150,000 people max. They did their planning for that. And if it was that number of people that came, everything would have been fine. But guess what? It went beyond board. And so this is the 10 out of 10 for me because with the mistakes we get to learn. It's actually benefits the industry in the long run. There are a host of other issues that I will talk about later, but today I'll just rest it here and I'll come to you again about the talk of this O2 thing. Shatta should go play O2. I'm totally against it. With this event now, I'm totally against the O2 agenda. And I'll tell you why. You know, the Big Jiggy Pella issue, I'll come to that issue as well, but in a later video. And then as well, I'm going to go into, a big shout out to MTN, the partners. Momo, thank you for sponsoring this event. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And I hope that now that people see what is possible, the entertainment industry would be taken more seriously. My name is Modin. God bless Shatawali. I pray that God, the ancestors, Nananum will take care. Nime ke name. One nime ke one name. Wacheme mba buhi. Mba ubuhi wale. Mba wajibu. Koni hino nahi wale yeno nyoke fene. Wase kwe. Onyo hinjile name. Onyo hinje name no. Kono onyo feko. Ganfomo bi. Obo Modin. Owo wo here anyonyamu adenche. Brani Wanabushi. I mean, I pray that God in his own infinite wisdom and might will grant you health and lead to see 10 times more of this. And for the country to move in a dimension where things are planned properly. I mean, the Pram place I'm proposing for an entertainment where we can get about 10 acres there and then create the railway infrastructure there as well. Now the motorway is being widened up. So now you have transport, you have rail, and it makes it easy for people to move in. And then you are intentional about this because now you create parking lots, parking spots, and even maybe camping areas where people can come and settle, food areas and all that kind of stuff. One can take urinal toiletries and all those things into effective distance. And we think effectively about the environment and where to dispose waste, and we put all those things into proper. Let's create a place that can host at least, let's just say, 200,000 people, because it can be for rallies and all that stuff also, you know. And we do that maybe one in Accra around the Pram area, and then we do one also in Ashanti region somewhere, and then we do one also up there at the north, depending on how people really go out. We should be intentional about some of these things, and I think with time we'll get somewhere. Peace.